So one of the tools that we've used to increase brand awareness since the company started is social media. Social media was an enormous part of how this business grew, and it will be an integral part of our continued growth. It's definitely not going anywhere. Some of you are true experts in social media, and others, like a lot of people I know, just try to avoid it. No matter where you are in your social media journey, though, our next guest is going to impart some pretty amazing insights about your digital engagement. So let me tell you a little bit about him. He's a leading social marketing strategist. He's a keynote speaker, brand evangelist, acting CMO of Brand Innovators. Most people have heard of the term ROI. What's that mean? Exactly, return on investment. But in March 2009, this man started using and evangelizing the term ROR, which stands for return on relationship. Many people in the social media world know our guest for his enthusiastic, energetic, and undeniable ability to connect immediately with people. ROR is the basis of his philosophy. His book, Return on Relationship, was released in January 2013. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to the one and only Ted Rubin. Let's hear it.
Thank you, Deb.
You are.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ted Rubin. For those of you that don't know me, I'm at Ted Rubin on Twitter and just about everywhere else. Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook. My blog is Ted Rubin. It's called Straight Talk because I tell it like it is. So a couple of months ago, I was fortunate enough to be contacted by Chrissy. And she said, I want to talk to you about return on relationship because I think that's what our company was built on. And we might need a little more direction in that way. Can we have a phone call? And it's got to be today. You guys know Chrissy, right? Okay. So, fortunately, see if this is working. Fortunately, I'm all about being in touch with people, about being accessible. So we had a telephone conversation. We had a telephone conversation that night. And I spoke my mind, Chrissy spoke hers, and I flew out here 3 days later and spent 2 days with the company. I did a tour of the warehouse like you did. Is that place amazing? Right? I got to meet a lot of the people, and I got to work with the executive team, and they said, we want to bring you out here to talk to all these amazing women. I know there's a few guys out there, but it's about the women, guys. Understand something. There is no social media without women. It ceases to exist. Men do not communicate that way. We talk at each other, right? We stare over your shoulder, we nod our head while we're watching the ESPN scores, and when we're talking to each other, we just wait for the other guy to finish so we can say what we want to say. You guys actually communicate. Now, I learned this when I was at a company called Elf Cosmetics. Back in 2007 and 2008, eyeslipsface.com, I was the CMO, I built their social presence, and I was fortunate enough to be working at a company that sold a product to women. And an aspirational product to that, and makeup. Ladies, nod your heads, I don't care who you are, you love makeup. I was new to the cosmetics industry. I was just a brand marketer. I was a business development guy, someone that knew how to make deals. And I started sending out boxes of cosmetics to all the women I knew. Now remember, this was dollar cosmetics. But invariably, the next day, the email I got in the morning was, oh my God, I was up all night playing with my new stuff. You guys play with that stuff. And this didn't matter. This was CEOs of companies, of Fortune 500 companies. And I want to tell you, ladies, no matter how tough you see them in person, behind closed doors, they're just like you. So what I really learned here is I talk about doing for others without expectation of anything directly in return. And people have said to me, they called me out and they said, well, that's not return on relationship. There's no return there. But there is, because as you guys know, when you're just be nice, when you help people, when you do for others, they do for you. And I found this out with all that I do. I make myself accessible, and people are always reaching out and doing things for me. So I love this. Show me the love, everybody. Come on. This is amazing. Now, relationships, I call them the new currency. And everybody's sitting there, all you guys are thinking, well, it's not new. Relationships have always been important, right? What's that expression? It's not what you know, it's who you know. But today, the reason I call it the new currency is you can build relationships 24/7, around the clock. It's what keeps me awake at night. I don't sleep. I keep my phone next to my bed, not worried if my teenage daughters are going to call, because they don't. Okay? Little background, I'm a divorced dad. I have to fight to keep my daughters in my life. And a lot of what I talk about, I refer to them and what I've learned from them and how I've learned to communicate better because of them. So I keep my phone by my bed because I'm up. When I think of something, instead of writing down those little notes you used to do, I tweet it out. And by the time I wake up, I've got responses. That's how Return on Relationship was developed. I thought of it. I spoke to the people in the C-suite, which is the CEO, the CMO, all want to say, where's the ROI? Where's the direct line to sales? Well, I'm going to tell you relationships are the direct line to sales. Businesses, and remember something, everybody, you guys are businesses, right? I've been hearing the talk here since I've been here, and thank God I've been here for a while. Some of you might have taken those selfies with me on the elevator the last couple days, right? Okay? And I've heard a lot about you guys are like a retail business. You're always open. Well, that's the way I am. I'm always open, 24/7. People say, why are you always on social media? Because that's how I connect. Businesses need to change their framework because consumers want connection today. And that's why you guys and what you're doing can give it to them better than anybody else. It used to be, it was a small town. You knew the people you bought from the way your buyers know you. You walked in the store, you said, hey, Mr. Rubin, I have something new, or Ted, I've got something your daughters might like. And then we got all excited about mass merchandising. We could go in, nobody knew us. We could be invisible. People don't want to be invisible anymore, but they also don't want to be targeted. You know that word, targeting? You hear it all the time from marketers. I prefer the word matchmaking. Make a match. Give people what they need. Add value. Welcome to the age of influence, ladies and gentlemen, where anyone can build an audience and affect change, advocate brands, and build relationships, and guess what? Make a difference 24/7. Everybody in this room can have 500,000 Twitter followers. Now, if you were listening to Jilly Sue yesterday, I sat in on a little bit of her social media presentation. Rock on. She did a really nice job explaining to you guys about connecting with people and not necessarily selling them anything. She talked to you about building a brand. Well, I like to wear funky socks. Okay? Everybody got that? I wear vests when I speak. This is how I build my brand, but this is me. I didn't sit down one day and say, hey, what can I do to get people to notice me? I wore funky socks. People noticed. They started taking pictures. Now I publish them every day. CEOs of Fortune 500 companies will email me and say, dude, where you been? I haven't seen your socks in the last 3 days. I was just in Punta Cana, and people were upset because I wasn't wearing socks. I'm like, I'm in the tropics, for God's sakes. Everybody's allowed a vacation sometime. So let's talk a little bit about how you engage with people. You've heard of friends, followers, and most of you guys use the word audience. I do too. It's part of our vernacular. Okay, but I prefer to think of them, just like I'm thinking of you, as an asset. What do you do with an asset? You own a car, you own a home, you take care of an asset. You get a home, you paint it, you improve it. Why? Not only do you want to live there, but you want to sell it for more down the road. You want it to increase in value. Well, you have to start doing that with the people that are following you. You have to think of them as for real friends. Now, Facebook's done an amazing thing, and we're going to do something here today to try to turn that around in a little way. They've taken ownership of the word friend. Think about it. Close your eyes, think of the word friend, and see what pops up in your head. A Facebook logo. I first discovered this with my daughters. So they're up and they come over, and they, of course, run right up to their rooms. And they're just sitting there all day. And I hear voices coming out of there. And I walk in, and the laptop's open, and they're on Skype, and they're on other conversations, and they're on Instagram, and they're doing 5 different things. And I go, girls, don't you have friends? And my daughter says, yeah, I do. I got 500 friends, look. Okay, it's getting a little warm up here, right? And I said, really? Who's that? Oh, I don't know. Who's that? Oh, I think it's Sue's friend. And this really got me nervous, and it didn't get me nervous as a dad because I totally trust my daughters. I believe in giving them all the room to learn, make their own mistakes, and be smart, and they are. What scared me is that everybody in this room and everybody in corporate America is doing the same thing. They think the click of a button means a friend. It's not. It's a handshake. If I shake your hand, are you my friend? No, that's a door opener. That allows me and gives me permission to start figuring out who you are and know who you are. Now, I'm going to tell you the best social media book ever written. Write this down. It's not my book. I'm going to give you guys a clue. It was written in 1936, and it's more relevant today than it was when it was written. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Everybody buy that book. I've got a copy on my iPhone, on my iPad. I've got 2 copies in my house, and I read it every week. It's simple. Call people by name. Don't just say thanks. Don't just reply to a tweet. Look at who they are. Go to their page. Find out if they're from Park City and say, hey, I love to ski. You don't even have to mention Park City. They will know you went to look. And people, put your names on your profiles. Welcome people in. When you meet someone, do you put out your hand, shake your hand, they go, hi, I'm Ted, and they go, hi. No, you say, hi, I'm Lori, nice to meet you. That's what you need to be doing in social media. You need to be sharing in that way. Don't think of it as a sales tool, think of it as a relationship building tool. And with relationships will come sales. You can do it one by one. So you hear this, well, what happens if I have 10,000 followers? How can I talk to all of them? You don't have to, because guess what? Most of them don't want to talk to you. They don't. What they want to do is watch you talk to other people. Have you ever been to a cocktail party or a business networking event? There's people in the room. There's a few people, the big mouths like me, talking in a corner. And there's people around them talking. Now, if everybody was talking, nobody would be listening. Personally, I like the listeners. I'm not worried about them commenting. You hear, get more comments on your page. Yes, to a certain degree, you got to get it to a level. But understand that everybody else, they're paying attention and listening, what I call vicariously participating. They're watching you converse with the people you regularly converse with, and they're reading it. Take my word for it. Talk to them, ask them. They are seeing it. I recently left the company I was with for 3 years, and I started bumping into people and doing more things outwardly. And CEOs and CMOs were coming up to me and going, oh my God, that trip you and your daughter took to Costa Rica, that was amazing. And by the way, high-level business people are more interested in my personal life than in what I write about business. They love the fact that I love my daughters. They love the fact that I took 4 years fighting to keep them in my life, and that I would not give up like most men do. So connect with those that want to connect with you one by one. The rest will feel that connection by watching you have conversations with others. Remember that social is a facilitator of relationships. It's not the relationship itself. You have not made a friend when you click a button. You've got to do the work behind it. And ladies and gentlemen, it's hard work. It's why corporate America doesn't want to do social media. Because it's just not in a box anymore. It's not simple. They can't set it and forget it. They've got to be evolving it all the time, and you have to be doing the same. But guess what? You're individuals. You have your own businesses. You don't have to answer to a board of directors. Well, some of you might. I don't know if your husbands or your wives or your kids, but don't do that. Make those decisions for yourselves. Jump in and share. Share about your personal life. Share about things that are important to you. Be authentic. I like to say that a brand or a person is what a brand is what a business or a person does, but a reputation is what people remember. So I give out my phone number on stage, 516-270-5511. Call me anytime. You won't. Everybody's afraid of the phone. Right? Does anybody call you anymore? Anybody know what this is? What's it called? Come on, speak up. It's an iPhone. What's the biggest word in iPhone? Don't say I. You're all going to say I. It's not about you. It's a phone. Does everybody have smartphones? You got apps on your phone? Well, this has a really cool app on it. It's got 10 numbers, 0 through 9, okay? And if you press 7 to 10 of them, you can actually hear somebody's voice. It's remarkable. You don't have to use emoticons to express emotion. And I use them all the time in social. You can actually yell, scream, you can laugh, you can cry, you can talk loud, you can talk low, and I'm going to challenge you guys. For the next 30 days, pick up this phone, call someone you haven't spoken to in a while, and just say hello. And say, what can I do for you today? Give your mother a break, for God's sake, and call her. Thank you. Somebody always does that. Just try doing it later. And make it easy. The reason we don't pick up the phone anymore is we're afraid that someone's going to keep us on the phone too long. Right? Women, why do you think why do you think we love text? Because we can just say, yep, day's good. We don't have to sit there and go, no, it's fine. Yeah, so how's your day? Right? We can just give an answer and get off. Well, it's the same thing with people in business. Or the people you're trying to sell to, they're busy. So pick them out, call them. My ex-partner, every morning on the way to work, he'd have a list. And he'd start calling people, different people every day. So do that. Start thinking reputation, not ranking. Don't worry about where you are in the list. Worry about what people think about you. Think connection, not network. And another word I want you to put into your mind, because I know you guys know it here, is the word community. Because a network is just a series of nodes without connection. But a community supports each other. They're there for each other. They do for each other. You guys have a remarkable community. What is it, 65,000 plus right now? With almost 5,000 in this room? Start sharing each other's content and lives. And loyalty, not celebrity, ladies. Does anybody actually believe they're going to look like Andy McDowell if they buy L'Oreal? Really? No, but you believe you can look like your neighbor or your friend or somebody else you know. When I was at Elf Cosmetics, the videos that got the most attention are the ones that the women got their delivery, and they start holding the camera, oh my God, I got my Elf, and they start putting the makeup on. Those are the ones that your friends want to see, because those are the ones they know are real. Now here's a company that gets it. Anybody here familiar with JetBlue? You tweet at JetBlue, they will tweet you back. Imagine how many tweets they're getting in a day. Imagine how many people are reaching out to them. So quick story, I don't know if you guys remember, but back in 2007, 2009, JetBlue had an incredibly bad problem of flights getting stuck on the runway. It was going on for hours at a time. Now, of course, they had to fix it operationally, because without that, it doesn't matter. If lockets aren't good, it doesn't matter how good you sail, right? So they were fixing that problem, and then they said, how are we going to fix this as a company? Do we want to advertise our way out of it? Or do we want to build relationships and let people know we're listening? So they jumped in a big way to social media. They didn't buy ads. And it was 2009. And I was on one of the last flights that got stuck on a runway. I was going to a conference called South by Southwest. Anybody familiar with that? Okay, there was supposed to be a bottle of water out here for me. I don't see it. Who's got a bottle of water for me? Come on. Quick, let's go. Oh, thank you. So, I'm on the plane. We're sitting there for 2 hours, and I'm finally getting frustrated. So like a good social media guy, I whip out my laptop, throw in my hotspot, and the way I communicate with most brands is starting out nice and friendly. Say, hey, at JetBlue, I'm a big fan, but what is going on today? Stuck on the runway for over 2 hours with no answers. So I immediately get the boilerplate answer you guys are used to. Sorry you're having a problem, doing the best we can, I'll have you in the air soon. Well, they had the wrong guy. I said, that's not good enough. That's what the flight attendants are telling me. I want to know what's going on. So little by little, we go back and forth, and eventually they tell me that our bags are on the New Orleans flight, and the New Orleans bags are on our flight, and then they decide to be a little cute with me, which I kind of enjoy, and they said, still want to take off? I think you guys know the answer to that. But here I am, and remember this, people don't understand your business. They don't understand how hard it is to do what you do, to get the products you need, to fix things that are broken, just like I don't understand airline business. I said, what's the big deal? Take the bags off one plane, walk them over here. Take them off the other plane, walk them over here. I volunteered to get off the plane and help them do it and tell them I get 10 more volunteers. So instead of just saying, sorry, we can't do that, they started giving me information. We need a gate. You're not allowed to move bags on the tarmac. We need a crew, and they're union crews. And they started going through this list of things they had to do, and they engaged me. Now remember, ladies, what do you want, truly? You just want to be heard. You want your husbands for once to listen and not be looking over your shoulder at the ESPN scores. You want us to be paying attention. Well, they were paying attention to me, and I appreciated it, and they gave me this information, and I am telling everybody on the plane what's going on. So JetBlue turned around, they made me a hero, right? They gave everybody information because they did this publicly, they didn't take it private. And then all of a sudden, 10 minutes in, they go, we've got a gate, we've got a crew, we're gonna have you in the air in about 20 minutes. That's all we wanna know, right? They could have said 2 hours, and I would have just started counting down. So they thought it was over. They said, have a great flight. And I go, wait, we're not done. South by Southwest is all about the parties, and we're going to be landing at like 2 in the morning now. So how about free drinks for everybody on the plane? So they come back and they cite FAA regulations, you know, we can't blah, blah, blah. And I wrote back exactly blah, 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 blah. We want to party. So they came back and said, how about free movies? Now they do that automatically, but then they didn't. Then I said deal, because I wasn't looking to make a problem. I turn around, tell everybody in the plane, they all clap, we take off. When we land, JetBlue still is first installing their Wi-Fi. They didn't have it back then. So I whip out my iPhone, like, and I tweet out, kudos to JetBlue. They couldn't solve my problem, but they engaged me. People just want to be heard. A month later, I'm on a panel at the Chief Marketing Officers Summit with top brands from all around the country, 125 CMOs in the audience, Chief Marketing Officers. And I'm on a panel. Who does it turn I'm on the panel with? Morgan Johnson, the head of communication at JetBlue. I didn't, of course, announce myself that I'm the guy that, caused the whole ruckus. But we're sitting there on the panel, and I'm at ELF, and we're talking about aspirational products, and he's at JetBlue, and Citibank was on the panel talking about just how they only get complaints. And he starts talking about how we try to answer every customer. And I looked at him and said, I got to give you kudos. And he just stopped. And he starts looking at me. He starts shaking his finger, and he says, oh, my God. And he looks up at the screen. He goes, you're at Ted Rubin. You're the drinks guy. And I looked back just as incredulous and said, how do you know? He said, because that was me tweeting with you, because back in 2009, JetBlue had a policy to escalate to somebody that could answer questions, and now today, then they had 5 people. They've got 35 people in their social media department, and they have access to people in every single department to get quick answers when they get questions. That's getting social media. Dwayne Reed lives it. Look at that number on there, everybody. They've got over 2 million followers. They're a small 256-store regional chain in New York that has more Twitter followers than Walmart and Target. And they get 4 times the engagement, and this has been referenced by Twitter in case studies, than any other brand. Now, truth be told, full disclosure, when I started working with them as a consultant, they had 900 Twitter followers. And we started a policy of what we call parallel persuasion, which is an omni-channel approach where we put out the content on every single channel and communicate it with people want to be communicated with. I learned from my daughters when I started trying to rebuild my relationship that what did I want to do? They weren't here, I'd call them. Any of you guys ever try to call a teenager? Within seconds of me ringing the phone, while it's still ringing, I get a text that says, what? Right? With the exclamation point. Now they're there. Now, of course, I started out originally as regular dad, like, I want to talk to you, pick up the phone. I want to hear your voice. I love you. Yeah, that got me far, right? So very quickly I learned that the way to communicate with them was the way they wanted to be communicated with. They want text, I'll give them text. Your customers want text, communicate on text. They use Twitter, they use Facebook. Don't try to drive them to places where they're not comfortable. Work with them where they want to be worked with, and then talk to them about fun things. Jilly Sue talked about this in her session. She talked about putting up pictures of sunsets, of things that are important to you. Dwayne rebuilt their presence by talking about New York, by showing pictures of the skyline. They have customers every day sending in photos for them to post, and they post it for them. FedEx, not so much. Hope there's nobody here that works at FedEx. But FedEx, great idea here. This is classic agency ideas. I got the opportunity to take my daughter to visit Duke. She wants to go there next fall. So I've learned, I got tickets to the Duke-Syracuse game. Because then I knew that this was not going to not happen. So when my ex-wife said, I'm going to take her there, my daughter's like, Mom, do you have tickets to Duke-Syracuse? I don't think so. So we go to Duke, and I'm tweeting about it like crazy. And if you see, I sent out a tweet that said Duke, Duke, Duke. And clearly FedEx was doing a campaign, which means it has a start and an end instead of a continuing conversation. They saw us doing, they retweeted me, then they asked me for my address, and about a week and a half later, great idea, a box shows up. And it's got all this Duke stuff in it. Duke hats, Duke blankets, Duke t-shirts. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. They were listening to me, right? Making me feel good. So what do? I take a picture. I tweet it out to thank them. Once, twice, 3 times, 10 times, not a response. Canaries. Because it was a campaign and it was over. They stopped communicating. So what did they do? They took a guy that actually liked FedEx, thought they were okay, got me all excited. You know when you get that high and then just right off the cliff, and I am like, I do everything I can now not to work with FedEx. UPS, love you guys. Because they don't get it. It's about communication. It's about working with people. You know what that is? That's a fly on the wall. Have you guys ever heard that expression? Right? I wish I could be a fly on the wall in that meeting. Well, guess what? Every consumer is inviting you into their living room, and you're not going. All the talk I hear about is how many people came to your Facebook page? How many people are talking there? Guess what, people? Go to their pages. Stop waiting for them to come to you. They are giving you all the information out there. Every corporation in America is worried now that Facebook changed their algorithms and I'm not getting as many people and likes aren't worth as much as they used to be. Well, guess what? Go to the Twitter feed of the people that follow you and see what they're talking about. They're having conversations every day. This is easy market intelligence. It's available by the minute. Stop ignoring it. And don't ignore the listeners. Embrace those lurkers. Understand those people that I guarantee you 10 to 20 times the people that are commenting or doing anything on your page, at the very least, are paying attention and reading everything you write. If you write stuff that's interesting, if you provide value, if you give them something more than, I want you to buy something, or here's what you can buy. In today's market, real trumps perfect, because real creates trust. Engage and build real relationships. Even with your detractors. I love critics. At ELF, I search for them every day on the Facebook page. Because most critics just want you to pay attention to them. Now, I'm not talking about haters, everybody. Haters hate. I ignore haters. Someone says you suck. That doesn't deserve a response. But when someone says I have a problem and this is how I need it fixed or this is what I need, that does deserve a response. Brands are from Mars. You guys know the book, Men are from Mars, Women are from Venus, right? Never going to change. Well, brands need to change because, in my opinion, brands are from Mars and consumers are from Venus. And brands need to change the way they communicate. More facilitation, less fabrication. So here's what you got to do. You've got to start listening. And I like to say, hearing. Now, when I wrote my book, I said, don't just listen, hear. And the editors kept sending it back to me. Any of you guys English majors? Because I said, no, that's not right. It's don't just hear, listen. But I disagree with that. That's not the point I was trying to make. The point I'm saying is, you've heard the expression, are you hearing me? Well, I think all of us can listen, but hearing to me is when it gets inside, when you're really paying attention. Make it about them. When was the last time you walked into a retailer or into a store or a restaurant and they said, how can we serve you? Do we hear that anymore? Start being the one that says it. What can I do to make your day better? Ask, how can I serve you? Aim for ongoing engagement. Too many of you guys, and businesses especially, start conversations on social media and then in the middle of them walk away. Would you ever do that in person? You're in the middle of having a conversation, you're halfway through your sentence, and you just turn around and you walk away. I'm done. You can't be done. It's okay to be done, but say, gotta go now. Going to bed. You'll watch on my Twitter feed a lot of times I say, good night, especially if you see me in a conversation. And it might be loud, you might not see it in the feed, but when they go back to look, they'll know it's there. And start looking people in the eye digitally. What are you taught when you meet people? Look at them. Pay attention to them. Don't look around the room at everybody else. Well, I have a book coming out in September called Look People in the Eye Digitally. And it's about calling them by name, like we were talking about before, seeing where they're from, reading their profiles. Add things to your profile that make it easy for people to communicate with you. Don't write, I am a designer who sells jewelry to people. Write something fun. I like to use quotes. I've been through some challenges in my life. The quote I use is, not about waiting for the storm to pass, it's about learning to dance in the rain. We've got to start dancing in the rain, everybody, but put down a quote. If you look at all my Twitter handles, @parenting, without the I at the end, P-A-R-E-N-T-N-G. R&R, and a whole bunch of others, they all have quotes that give a view into my soul, who I am, how they can connect with me. And listen for moments. So my daughters, and this is how I learned how to communicate better. I had to rebuild a relationship with two alienated teenagers. Try to do it with two teenagers in general. And I learned that I couldn't just talk to them at any time. I needed to talk to them when they were open to talking to me. I call those moments. So one night I'm out with my 15-year-old at the time. She's 17 now. The other one wasn't there. And you know how much better they are when you have them one-on-one because the other one's not watching them and kind of saying, why are you talking to Dad? And my daughter, for the first time, starts talking to me about boys. And I, fortunately, was evolved enough as a dad and a man to shut up and listen. And she tells me that they call the boys by code names and their colors, yellow, blue, orange, so the girls can talk about them and the boys don't know who they're talking about. So I am sitting here, and you know that feeling when you feel like God is just shining down on you, and you're in the moment, and you're just listening, and you don't want it to end, and the waitress comes over and puts the damn check on the table, and it just ends. The cell phone comes up, she starts talking to her friends, we leave. We're driving home, we get home, she's still on the phone with a friend, she walks off to the side to talk, it's dark around my house, so I wait downstairs for her, I'm not listening to the conversation, I swear. But when she comes back and she finishes, I do what businesses call retargeting. Have you heard that thing when you already left the store and now they offer you a coupon? Or they say, come back in, and you're like, damn, I was just there, right? So I automatically retarget my daughter. Ladies, don't put your hands over your eyes. I know you're going to say it. I said, so who were you talking about, Blue? She looked at me like I was from another planet. Who is Blue, Dad? Never heard of the guy, right? So I learned very quickly that this was a mistake and that I need to put that information into my database the same way you have to with your consumers, the way businesses have to, and save it for the moment that's correct. So if 6 months later we're in Ixtapa, Mexico, and my older daughter finally tells her, leave me alone, I don't want to do anything with you. So all of a sudden I hear, Dad, will you come in the water with me? And I had to kind of sit still and go, yeah, okay. Inside I'm going. So I very casually get up, sure, you know. I walk over, I go in the ocean, and out of nowhere she says, so Blue said to my friend, and I was able to dig into my data bank, show her that I was paying attention, and say, oh, really? Well, what about orange and red? That was just my way to let her know that I knew what she was talking about. And that's what we have to do with our consumers, with the people we're trying to connect with. We've got to listen for the right moments. It's like when someone calls to complain, customer service is the best time to talk to them. Because when my daughter comes and asks for money, she knows I'm listening to every word that comes out of her mouth. If she goes like this, nothing's hitting that hand, right? So now I've got an audience. Now I'm not going to say only do this or I'll give you the money, but now I know she's listening to every word, waiting for me to say what? Here's the money. Same thing when a customer calls you to complain. They're listening to every word out of your mouth. Now is the best time to show what you're about and market what you do. And you've got to be fearless, ladies. You got to stop being afraid. If we let fear get in the way, we trade innovation for stagnation, genius for mediocrity, and adventure for boredom. Which sounds better to you? Adventure. Start thinking like a child again. Okay, now I'm running over time, so I'm going to start talking fast, okay, because I want to finish, and I know you want me to. But what happens is as kids, we're all happy. We all default to happy. We all come up with ideas. We brainstorm all the time. How many people in this room consider themselves good artists? Okay, there's a handful. Out of 5,000 people, I might have seen 12 hands. Well, if you guys were all 10 years old and younger, every hand would be up. We've got to start doing that. We've got to start changing. We've got to stop being afraid to give ideas because of what people will say. When someone asks me, what's the ROI of social? I ask, what's the ROI of trust? And what's the ROI of loyalty? Everybody understands that from Fortune 500 company CEOs on down, that loyalty and trust will lead to more money in the coffers of your business. Being social drives engagement, engagement drives loyalty and advocacy, and both correlate directly to increased sales. Awareness equals revenues. They can't buy from you if they don't know who you are. Differentiators equal margins. You'll buy from a store that for more money if they do things for you, if they add value to your life. And authenticity equals loyalty and advocacy, and all are measurable and lead to increased profits. Start engaging and captivating and making everything you do remarkable. Every experience. Make yourself stand out. Be noticed. So as we close, let's go over a few important points about amplifying your customer experience. Make it better by really listening to them. Put customers' convenience first. Let them know that you're there to serve them. Be useful, be interesting, and stay clear of one size fits all. I equate my friends even differently. I try to teach this to my daughters all the time. There are acquaintances, there are friends, and there are the ones that'll be there when you're down and you need them. And it's surprising how you find out who they are. Empower people to share. People love sharing. Give them things to share. Give them things to share with their friends. Focus on unmet needs and be one step ahead. And add value in every customer interaction. You know what doesn't work for a social media strategy? Not being social. Now I'm going to leave you with one more really important point. You've heard I learned a lot from my daughters. I've learned about defaulting to happy. I've made a decision in my life. No matter what's happening, I take a step back and I default to happy. And I smile and I think of what can be better. And I don't jump at people. And I'll tell you, I'm a New Yorker. I'm used to someone bumps into me, dude, what are you doing? I walk down the streets of New York now, and people are sitting there like this, and they walk into me. I stand there and wait for them to walk into me, and I smile. They don't know what to do with it. Right? Kids default to happy. Kids make friends easily, to the bane of every mother in America. A kid goes, hi, you want to come over to my house and play today? Right? They sing on the stalk of a dime. You ever see that person in the car next to you, and they're rocking away, and then all of a sudden they see you looking, and they're like, keep rocking. Now, here's the most important thing I learned from my kids. When I got divorced, my daughters were 4 and 6 years old. And I got stuck with what I call the divorced dad car. The convertible with the 2 little seats in the back that are right up next to each other. Anybody here have girls? Girls rock. I love my daughters, but all of a sudden all I'm hearing is, Dad, she's pinching me, she's touching me. I mean, every second. My personal favorite is she's smelling me. What do you do with that? My daughter would lean over and go, right? So what I realized, and I started thinking about, is whenever I was in the playground with them, they'd always start bickering. How did I get them to stop? But I started watching them. And I learned that when children and people skip, they feel good. So I would take my daughter's hands, and we'd skip. And everything would be good in the world. They would smile. They would stop bickering. So I'm going to give you guys some advice. When you're having a bad day, get up and skip. I promise it'll make you feel better, but if it doesn't, I guarantee the rest of the people around you will be much happier. And in business, if you can make every situation, if you can metaphorically make your customers skip with every interaction, you win. Now, I want to finish with one last thing here to leave you in the right frame of mind. I need 5 or 6 volunteers, and I'm going to need them from up front. Come on. Come on. You! Let's go. Everybody hold hands. Come on. Okay, I want some handhelds here. Come on, let's go. Hold hands with each other. And we are going to skip and show you guys how it feels. Let's go. Come on. We're going to skip right out and smile. Come on, everybody.